All right, let's get into a story that is so wild, you're just not going to believe it's real. We are talking about the moment a beloved children's mascot got taken down by the police right in the middle of a birthday party. Seriously. Yeah, you heard that right. That is an actual quote from actual police body cam footage as an officer is trying to arrest Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, that one line just perfectly sums up how completely bizarre this whole situation was. It's something you'd see in a movie, not in real life. So the big question is, how on earth does this happen? To figure that out, we've got to go back and piece together a story that involves a little bit of crime, some surprisingly great detective work, and one really, really bad decision. Okay, part one, the arrest. Let's start right in the middle of the action. Picture a packed Chuck E. Cheese. Kids are running around, and then the police walk up to the mascot, and everything just erupts into chaos. I mean, just imagine being there. The kids are totally confused, asking their parents, "Is this part of the show?" Meanwhile, the parents are freaking out. They've got their phones out, recording the whole thing. And then there's this one little moment, caught on video, where a little boy just waves goodbye to his hero, and his mom yanks his arm down. It was just absolute pandemonium.
So all of that chaos begs the obvious question, right? Who was the person inside that suit, and what could they have possibly done to deserve getting arrested in front of all those kids?
Well, let's meet Jeral. He's a 41-year-old guy from Florida who had a bit of a criminal record. But in 2023, he gets this job at Chuck E. Cheese, and it seems like he's trying to get on the straight and narrow. And yeah, one of his main jobs was to be the famous mouse. Okay, part three. So, what was the big crime? A heist? A robbery? Nope. This whole thing started with a lost debit card and a bunch of tiny purchases that just spiraled way out of control. So here's how it all went down. It kicks off when a woman named Michelle is at her kid's party and accidentally leaves her debit card. Jeral allegedly finds it. Then, for about 2 weeks, he starts making these little purchases here and there. But here's the crazy part. When Michelle notices the charges, she doesn't just cancel the card. No, she turns into a full-on detective. She goes to one of the stores, gets them to pull the security footage, and right away she recognizes the guy as an employee from Chuck E. Cheese. And get this, the grand total for all this drama, the mascot in handcuffs, the crying kids, the whole public spectacle, it was all over $105. That's it. Such a tiny amount of money for such a massive, unforgettable scene. So what did he even buy? Anything interesting? Nope, not at all. It was the most normal stuff you can imagine. A smoke shop, a grocery store, a meat market, a Circle K, and a Whataburger. Just your average, everyday errands that ended up leading to a not-so-average arrest.
Which brings us right back to the big day. Michelle has her man. She calls the cops, meets them in the parking lot, and they all get ready to go inside.
So the officers and Michelle walk into the restaurant. Their first move is simple. Just confirm that their suspect, Jeral, is actually working.
And yep, there it is. He's not in the costume, just in his regular work clothes, checking the stamps on people's hands as they come and go. The cops have got their guy. It seems like this is going to be pretty straightforward. So the officers decide to play cool. They step back outside for a second, probably to coordinate how they're going to make the arrest without causing a huge scene. But in that tiny window of time, everything changes. Because when they walk back inside, Jeral is nowhere to be found. But Chuck E. Cheese is out on the floor, waving to kids. It seems pretty clear what happened. Jeral must have seen the cops, panicked, and made the insane decision to hide in plain sight by putting on the giant mouse costume.
You can practically hear the disbelief in the officer's voice on the body cam. They have a choice to make. Do they wait for him to take the suit off? Or do they arrest a 6-foot-tall cartoon mouse in front of a room full of kids? Well, they made their choice. They were going to detain the mouse. What happens next is just this slow, completely surreal procession. They lead the mascot through the restaurant, out the front door, and into the parking lot. This is where the final, bizarre act of this whole thing is about to go down. As they're leading him out, one of the parents yells, "Would you all put Mickey Mouse in handcuffs?" And without even skipping a beat, one of the cops gives this deadpan, darkly hilarious reply, "I would taste Mickey Mouse if I had the chance." Just a completely wild thing to hear in the middle of all this chaos. And just when you think it can't possibly get any more absurd, the manager runs out with a very practical concern. He says, "Hey, we're going to need that suit back." He's not worried about the situation, he's worried about company property. The police actually have to tell him they'll get it back to him later. So, out in the parking lot, the police have the very strange task of questioning a giant mouse. They pull the mascot head off, and there's Jeral. People are filming the whole thing as kids walk by, seeing Chucky's head just sitting on the hood of a police car. Just surreal.
Now, Jeral tries to talk his way out of it. At first, he flat out denies everything. He's like, the only card I ever use is my own Cash App card. That's it. But as they keep pressing him, his story starts to change. He then says, well, maybe one of my cousins let me use their card. The story just isn't holding up.
But, in the end, his alibi didn't even matter. Because when the police search him, they find the smoking gun right there in his back pocket. Michelle's debit card and a receipt to go with it.
And with that, it was game over. Jeral was officially arrested, and as far as we know, his case is actually still pending, so the final chapter of this unbelievably weird story still hasn't been written.
So, that's the story of the Chuck E. Cheese arrest. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In a situation like this, who's the real victim? Is it just the person who made a terrible choice? Or is it the childhood magic that gets a little bit ruined for every kid who saw their hero in handcuffs? It's something to think about. Thanks for watching.